no toilet paper, just a sponge on a stick, shared. In the ancient Greco-Roman world, going to the toilet wasn't private. It was public, loud, social, rows of seats, conversations happening side by side.
When we think of ancient Rome, we usually picture the pinnacle of classical engineering. We imagine pristine marble bathhouses, towering aqueducts, and a society that invented civilized hygiene. But if you actually walked into an ancient Roman city and needed to use the restroom, the reality was dark, foul-smelling, and genuinely dangerous. Welcome to the Foraca, the public latrine. Inside these cramped stone rooms, the concept of privacy did not exist. Dozens of people would sit shoulder to shoulder on long stone benches over an open trench, doing their business in plain sight. The heavy wool of the Roman toga offered the only physical barrier, draped down like a makeshift privacy tent. And rather than a quiet retreat, the latrine was a bustling social hub, where citizens would gossip, network, and even try to beg for dinner invitations while sitting over raw sewage. Then there is the matter of cleaning up. At the patron's feet ran a shallow gutter of flowing water, and resting in that water was the xylospongium, or tersorium, literally a sea sponge attached to a wooden stick. Historians actually debate the exact purpose of this tool. Some argue it was the ancient equivalent of shared toilet paper. Others suggest it was simply a courtesy brush used to clean marble seats after you finished. Biologically speaking, the distinction barely even matters. Whether that sponge wiped the seats or the citizens themselves, it was shared by everyone who walked into the room. A single use by an infected person guaranteed that intestinal worms and bacteria were passed to every other patron in the latrine, which raises a strange paradox. Why would the Romans, a civilization capable of mapping water systems across entire continents, tolerate such horrific, unsanitary bathroom conditions at the center of their cities? To answer that, we have to look at who actually used these spaces. The Roman elite knew exactly how terrible the Foraca was. They largely avoided the public latrines, viewing them as a dumping ground meant to keep the filth of the lower classes out of sight. Instead, wealthy citizens used private chamber pots inside their villas. But even they didn't hook their private toilets up to the city plumbing. They paid specialized workers called stercorai to haul their manure away by hand. The reason the elite avoided the plumbing lies deep beneath the streets, in the sprawling subterranean networks, like Rome's famous Cloaca Maxima. These sewer tunnels were marvels of physical engineering. They were carved out of solid stone, managing millions of gallons of water, and were built so large that you could drive a wagon loaded with hay straight through them. But they were never designed to manage human waste. The Romans built these colossal tunnels to drain swamps and prevent the nearby Tiber River from flooding the streets. Removing excrement was entirely secondary. Because they prioritized floodwater over hygiene, their plumbing had a fatal structural flaw. In this cross-section, modern toilets use a U-bend filled with water, sealing off the sewer. Roman pipes were straight, open shafts dropping directly into the darkness. This open design meant that decomposing sewage below produced high concentrations of methane gas. That gas would drift straight up the pipes into the latrines, where a stray spark could cause the toilet to literally explode in a burst of fire. Worse, the open pipes were a highway for local wildlife. Rats, snakes, and spiders routinely crawled up from the sewers. In one famous account by the ancient author Aelian, a giant octopus repeatedly swam up a merchant's private toilet drain to eat pickled fish from his pantry. The Roman sewer system was a masterpiece of civil engineering that kept the streets dry, but as a hygiene system, it failed completely. It simply opened a direct door between the hazardous underground and the human population. We know exactly what biological toll this took, thanks to modern archaeology. In the ruins of Herculaneum, buried by Mount Vesuvius, scientists have been studying the hardened sludge preserved at the bottom of these ancient sewers. By carefully sifting through more than 750 bags of this fossilized human waste, researchers managed to piece together a highly detailed picture of Roman daily life. At first glance, the findings were incredibly positive. The soil revealed an impressively diverse diet across all social classes. They found remains of everyday staples like millet and figs, mixed with luxuries like sea bass and imported black pepper from India. But looking closer at that exact same soil revealed a terrifying microscopic reality. This is a microscopic image of what researchers found by the thousands: intact, fossilized parasite eggs. The latrine dirt was absolutely saturated with them. They identified heavy concentrations of roundworm and whipworm, as well as the protozoan Giardia duonalis. The presence of these specific pathogens proves that dysentery and severe intestinal infections were rampant across the empire. As this diagram shows, these pathogens spread through a closed loop known as the fecal-oral route. Romans had no concept of germ theory. They rarely washed their hands, they bathed and shared dirty bathwater, and they frequently ate food while soaking in those baths. Remember the stercorei, the workers paid to haul away elite human waste? They sold that waste to local farmers as fertilizer, meaning the citizens were taking feces completely riddled with parasite eggs and spreading it directly onto the city's food supply. They mastered the physics of moving water better than any society before them. But without a biological understanding of disease, their brilliant infrastructure didn't eliminate pathogens. It just built a highly efficient network to distribute them.
History is never just black and white. So where do you stand? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe for more. New videos every week.